Van Ryken Productions presents Blood Noir.
Last time on Blood Noir, Sterling, Henry, Boris, and Mave had recently emerged from the elevator in the Sinclair Industries building, discovering that Boris and Mave had already been engaged in action. They found 3 security guards incapacitated on the floor. Boris greeted Henry while noting his battered appearance. Henry inquired about their well-being, and Mave mentioned a scuffle they had in the basement. Henry showed them a mysterious book containing images of the Blood Token, a significant vampire artifact. The group decided to hand the book over to Carl, a member of the syndicate specializing in vampiric literature, for further analysis, and made their way towards the exit. However, their departure was abruptly interrupted when 3 men burst into the building from a nearby stairwell. This unexpected confrontation forced them to flee. As they made their escape, a brief but intense brawl ensued, leading to the defeat of the Sinclair goons. Sterling nursed a sore jaw, and Henry decided it was time to leave. They rushed out of the building, only to face more of Sinclair's men, who were entering the scene. Evelyn, who had been waiting anxiously at a motel, was relieved when Henry unexpectedly arrived with Boris, Mave, and Sterling. Armed with a wooden baseball bat, she'd been preparing for the worst. They departed for the syndicate safe house, and Henry reassured Evelyn about their safety, emphasizing her need to remain hidden for her own protection. Sterling and Mave got to know one another a little better before having a tense moment where their location was almost discovered by Sinclair goons. In a penthouse office, Carlisle Sinclair contemplated the urgency of retrieving a stolen book and a valuable vampire artifact known as the Blood Token. He summoned Strigoi, one of his enforcers, who had been breaking the rules by feeding on people outside the designated areas. Carlisle demanded Strigoi's compliance and ordered him to track down and recover the stolen items, which had been taken by the infiltrator. Strigoi reluctantly agreed to the task, concealing his malicious intent. Carlisle expressed his concern about the impending full moon, a critical element of his plans. He wondered whether Strigoi would succeed in his mission. The story continues today on Blood Noir. Morning came as it always does, and the occupants of the safe house began to stir. Boris had fallen asleep on his watch, but fortunately for him he was up first, so no one noticed. He had left to go check the perimeter. Sterling, Henry, and Mave sat about a rickety kitchen table drinking instant coffee from the safe house stores and discussing their plans for the day. Evelyn was still asleep.
So, if Mave and I are going to this library to find out about the book, and Henry, you're going with Boris, who's watching Evelyn?
We're gonna have to leave her here.
We can't just leave her. You just told us that there were Sinclair flunkies lurking around last night.
Yes, and they didn't find us. They'll most likely have written off this block as abandoned, which, for the most part, it is. It's a risk, but she's a bargaining piece for Sinclair. We can't have her out in the open.
I don't like it.
Neither do I, but it's our only option. We have to trust Evelyn to keep quiet and not go anywhere, just like she did in the motel.
This is my wife we're talking about here. I can't leave her in good conscience. No, I'm staying here.
Boris wants you with him.
Damn what Boris wants. I'm not leaving her.
I think that might be best. You're injured anyway. We'll take care of the business we gotta take care of, and get back here right away. Before dark.
Fine. Sterling, we should go.
Right.
Sterling and Mave stood from the table and headed for the door, just as Boris was returning from outside.
Everything seems to be safe out there. For now. You two are off to the library, I take it.
Yes. We'll be back as soon as Carl is able to figure out the book.
Be careful. The vampires will most likely stay indoors until nightfall, but familiars will be out and about. Take no direct routes. Make sure you are not followed.
I know, Boris. It's not my first time.
I know this, but I worry nonetheless.
As the 2 of them stepped outside, Boris locked the multiple locks on the door behind them. He turned to Henry.
You look tense.
I am. Boris, I can't go with you to see your informant. I need to stay here and protect Evelyn.
This is fine. I would have liked the backup, but I wouldn't ask you to leave her alone.
Thank you.
I'm going to go now. Keep the doors locked and your head down.
Of course. Be safe out there.
Henry relocked the door behind Boris as he left and stepped into the bedroom where Evelyn was still sleeping. He sat on the bed and watched her silently. The poor woman was caught up in something she could never be ready for. He went back into the living room and set about cleaning and loading every firearm he could and sharpening the wooden stakes he found in the storage closet. It was going to be a long day. Sterling and Mave stepped into the library. It wasn't overly crowded, and the bored librarian behind the front desk waved at them half-heartedly. They nodded politely and headed into the library proper. The detective followed the monster hunter through the stacks and towards the bathrooms, where Mave carefully opened the secret panel and they made their way down the steps. Inside the smaller library, Carl sat at a table, engrossed with what appeared to be a very old scroll of some kind.
Carl, did you find anything about the blood token?
Is he one of us?
Absolutely not. But I'm helping out.
All right then. As to your question, Mave, I haven't found much at all. I've pulled every book I have on vampire religions. I've only found references to the blood token and the sketches. A lot of it is in their language, so I can't read it.
Well, maybe this might help.
What is this?
Stole it from Carlisle Sinclair. It was in some weird vampire church place.
Carl tentatively opened the book and inhaled sharply. He began to carefully flip through the pages.
Yes. This book seems to very much have to do with the blood token. It's still in the vampire tongue, but I have enough references. I could probably build some sort of cipher.
I can help with that.
How?
I'm a very well-paid detective. The reason for that is I'm good at finding patterns, seeing details others missed. But I'm not really good at book learning. If we put our heads together, I'm sure we can do it.
And how long will this take?
Hard to say. Settle in, though.
And so Carl and Sterling sat together at the table, hunched over the large volume and a notepad, speaking quietly and occasionally jotting things down. Mave grew bored very quickly and sat in a nearby armchair, falling asleep after an hour or so. She dreamed fitfully of vampires and artifacts, gunfire, and wicked fangs. When she awoke, she felt groggy, as though she had slept for a very long time.
Morning, sunshine.
How long was I out?
Well, you fell asleep pretty quickly. We've been at it for, what has it been, 10 hours?
I don't even know how you slept that long after sleeping the whole night.
Who says I slept?
All right. Fair. Come, look at what we've got.
Mave stood up from the armchair and sat at the table. The book lay open next to a notepad full of scribbles and haphazard notes. Several paper cups of coffee littered the desk, and the ashtray was overflowing with cigarette butts.
Mr. Angrave and I have been studying the book. Based on some other vampire documents I found in our language, and the contents of the book, we've been able to determine that the vampire alphabet has 26 letters, just like ours. From there, we just found the patterns, and we've been able to, very loosely, translate some of the book, starting with this page containing the sketch of the blood token.
It's not good. Something about a ritual at the full moon needs a blood token. There's a bit here that says, blood of the innocent and reclaim what was lost. But we're not sure what any of that means.
Mave studied their notes in the book itself. The drawing of the blood token was accompanied by several renderings of what were clearly vampires, fleeing from a stylized sunburst. On the next page was the token, then a sketch of vampires standing atop a jet-black circle.
The ritual is to block out the sun. You two aren't seeing the forest for the trees. It's right here, this picture. They're running from the sun, then there's this drawing of the blood token, and the vampires are standing on a dark circle. That's the planet. Oh, why did I just look at the book? Why did you two have to waste 10 hours on this?
Narrative pacing?
What does that even mean, Angrave?
Don't worry about it.
So, they want to block out the sun? With some silly ritual? That's ridiculous. That would imply that magic is real.
If vampires are real, why not magic?
Vampires are biological creatures, just like us. They feed, they sleep, they live, sort of, and they die. There's nothing magical about them.
I don't know. In the spirit of commitment, I'm about ready to believe in anything. At the very least, Carlisle is probably gonna kill a bunch of people for this, even if it's fake. He thinks it's real. Blood of the innocent.
So, what are you going to do?
We're going to take the book and the token, and we're going to bury them, so to speak. We're going to hide them so well that Sinclair could search for decades and not find it. Then we're going to take him out. Then he's gone, and no one else will be able to get the same sort of ideas.
Boy, that's intense. You don't need me for that part, do you?
I doubt you can even fire a gun.
Correct.
Go home, lock your doors, wait for us to contact you. Don't come back to the library unless you hear from us first. There's no real way to know if this place has been compromised.
If you two let vampires here...
We'll take care of it. Now do as the lady says.
The group made their way out of the secret library and out onto the streets.
I sure hate winter here. It may not snow here, but it gets dark so early. Sun's already down.
I agree. It gets dark way too... Wait a second. It's dark.
We have to go now. Carl, get home.
Right. See you two soon. I hope.
Mave and Sterling took off down the street, heading towards the safe house. They knew that Henry was with Evelyn, but he was injured. And if they were found by Sinclair's cronies, neither of them dared to think about it. While Mave and Sterling were visiting the library, Boris was wandering the city on a mission of his own. His goal was simple: to find the vampire spawn that the Syndicate had managed to flip to their side. Going by the name of Rat Sam, he often was able to provide useful information on the movement of the various vampire families. He had been very quiet and hard to find lately. It took several hours and much asking around in the more criminal element of Silvercrest to track down Rat Sam's location. He had holed up in one of Sinclair's heroin dens on the east side of town. The tall apartment building was in a state of heavy disrepair and looked unsafe, to say the least. He ventured through the front door and up a flight of stairs to the third floor. The inside of the building had been converted into a pale imitation of a medical facility. There were rooms with beds and medical carts scattered about, with bored-looking women in nursing gowns not paying any attention to the zoned-out junkies laying about. Boris was not acknowledged in any way by the staff as he crossed the floor, keeping his eyes peeled for his quarry. Eventually, he came to a room where he found a rail-thin man with a rat-like face kneeling over an unconscious woman, open mouth descending toward her neck.
Leave the addict alone, Samuel.
The man froze in place before turning his head slowly to face the newcomer.
Boris, good to see you. What are you doing here?
I'm here for you to do your job. I need information.
As Rat Sam's eyes watched the door shut, he sprang to his feet and darted across the room, away from Boris.
Why so nervous, Samuel? I have no gun. No stake, at least none pointed at you.
You always get me in trouble, Boris. No way, I ain't squealing for yous no more.
In trouble with her.
Oh, you know. Just every vampire you ever want dirt on. I'm lucky to be alive.
You are a vampire. You are not alive.
You know what I mean. No, sir, no more info for you.
This is a shame, Samuel. And here I am with a big wad of money for you. Well. I suppose I will have to find another informant.
How much money?
Very much money. Double what I paid last time.
Show it to me.
Boris reached into his pocket and revealed a money clip bursting with crisp bills.
These would have all been yours. Oh well. Have a good day, Samuel.
Wait. Damn it. Okay, what do you want?
I want to know about Carlisle Sinclair. I want to know everything about these heroin facilities, and you are going to tell me everything you know about Carlisle Sinclair and what his current plans are.
I don't know nothing about Sinclair, Boris.
Oh, Samuel! You're lying to me already? Vampire attacks are very down the last couple of months. Right around the time Sinclair started buying apartment buildings to put addicts into and opening blood banks.
He'll kill me if I tell you.
I will kill you if you do not. And I am the one right here.
All right. Carlisle put a lockdown on feeding in Silvercrest. Ain't allowed to feed on random townsfolk no more. Wants to keep a low profile. Since he heads the biggest family, this goes for the other families too. Instead, we eat these dope fiends and drink blood bags.
But why?
Sinclair doesn't own all the police, just a few. He doesn't want heat.
Again, I ask you, why?
All right, put the gun down. I don't fully know. Something about the full moon. I heard about it from a friend of a friend, some big ceremony.
I see. But why open the heroin centers? If Sinclair Industries owns blood banks, that is a way to get more than enough blood in a completely legal fashion.
Look. Every now and again, a couple of Sinclair's goons come in here and take people. Like twice a week they've been doing it. I think it's for more than just feeding. There's a lot of people in this city that do drugs, Boris. Gallons and gallons of blood coming through just this building every week.
Okay. So he's collecting blood from people and not just to feed. You said something about the ceremony. How is this related?
I'm telling you, I don't know. Sinclair's a big old fanatic, though. Worships the old blood gods or whatever. I don't do religion. My best guess is it's some kooky vampire mass or something. That's all I know.
I hope for your sake that is true. One last question. What do you know about the blood token?
Every vampire knows about the blood token. Like I said, I don't do religion, but the craziest of us believe that it's a piece of some vampire god. And if you bring that god back, the world ends and vampires rule everything. All a bunch of hooey, if you ask me.
You are terrible at being a vampire. Very well. I will call upon you again if I have more questions.
And Boris, watch your neck. I hear your brother's back in town.
Boris left the building in a hurry. Hearing his brother mentioned had him worried. He had to return to the trailer on the dockyard to hide any valuable information stored there. Streakway was a dangerous man when he was alive. Now, he shuddered. He looked at his watch with concern. He had spent most of his day tracking down Rat Sam, and the sun would be setting soon. It took him an hour to reach the docks. He burst into the trailer and began shoving documents and folders into a large leather briefcase. He took a pistol and some ammunition from a drawer and stowed them in his coat. He grabbed everything of value he could find. If Streakway was back, he would no doubt be searching for his brother and the syndicate. By the time he had finished, the sky was nearly full dark. He pulled his jacket around him in the cold air and headed out of the dockyard, bulging briefcase in hand. He really wished there were more syndicate members in town. Evelyn had spent most of the day sleeping. She awoke around noon to find Henry in the living room, unloading and cleaning a pistol.
I've never seen you hold a gun in all the years we've been married.
Yeah, I really didn't want him around you. Dangerous, you know?
You know what's more dangerous? Lying to your wife for the entire time you're with her.
Evie, I can explain.
No, Henry, stop. You've been living this insane secret life for our whole marriage. You hunt vampires? Vampires are real? You're part of some underground network that hunts them? What else have you been keeping from me?
No, Evie, listen.
No, Henry. I kept my mouth shut yesterday because I didn't want to do this in front of other people. But you're going to listen to me, and you're going to listen good. When we got married, we took a vow to always be faithful and always be honest. I've honored that. You never even tried.
And what would you have me do? Huh? Tell you everything and make you a part of all of this. This is dangerous stuff, Evie. And you could get hurt.
I could get hurt? No kidding. If you let me in on this when we met, I could have either run away from you and been all the safer, or if I had stayed, I would know about the danger and would have been so much more cautious.
I didn't want you living in fear.
And now I am. And it's all the worse because I can't even trust you. I don't even think I know you anymore.
Okay, fine. What do you want me to say? You want me to apologize? Apologize for trying to protect you.
No, I don't. Because you think you've done nothing wrong, so it won't mean anything.
would you have even believed me?
I guess we'll never know.
Still crying, Evelyn stormed off to one of the bedrooms and slammed the door. Henry rested his head in his hands and sighed heavily. He had to admit that she had a point. He was just trying to protect her, but she had been dragged into this world all the same, and she was totally unprepared. He stayed in the living room for the rest of the afternoon, letting Evelyn have her time to cry it out. As the sun went down, he knocked on the door of the bedroom.
Evie? Baby?
Go away!
The sun's going down. I need you in the same room.
I don't want to be near you.
Well, fine then. See what I care. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry.
Don't you speak another word, Henry Lemieux.
Another hour went by, with Henry delving into the whiskey bottle that Maeve had left out. 3 glasses in, he saw that the sun had been down for a while. He shook his head. His marriage really might be over, and it was his fault.
God damn it.
A little later, he was surprised to hear the bedroom door open and see a re-energized and freshly angered Evelyn storm out.
And another thing!
There came a thunderous pounding on the door of the safe house. It sounded like a battering ram. Henry stood shakily and grabbed his pistol off the table.
Evie, get behind me.
The door began to buckle under the force of the pounding. Henry watched in horror as the wood split and cracked, huge chunks being ripped away with masked hands. He cocked the hammer on the pistol as a massive dark shape crept under the doorframe and stepped into the room, standing to its full 7-foot height.
Knock, knock. Anybody home?
Blood Noir, Episode 9, featuring the voice talents of Aubrey Akers as the narrator, Chris Wentworth as Sterling Ongrave, Alina Masquerade as Evelyn Lemieux, Melissa Sackerson as Maeve, S. Levens as Boris, Daniel Coette as Henry Lemieux, Leo Roselius as Carl, Jeff Robinson as Rat Sam, and Sean O'Laughlin as Strigoi. Written by Gerald Van Ryken, directed by Adam Blanford. Sound effects provided by Adam Blanford and freesound.org in the public domain. Covert Affair, Night on the Docks, Sax, Day of Chaos, Scissors, I Knew a Guy, Hard Boiled, Cool Cats, Ossuary 6 Air, and Vibing Over Venus was composed by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0. Blood Noir, copyright 2024 by Gerald Van Ryken. This production is copyright 2024 Van Ryken Productions.